We gamble. We go for Burning Wish. It hits Rite of Flame, which doesn't matter. We cast Burning Wish, and we Desire for 17. We have now run into the first two games, both Desired, which is awesome. I kind of forgot about that. Hey everyone, TonyScapone here, and today we are going to play my signature deck, the Epic Gamble. So, you know anything about my, we'll call it a villain arc. This was my first major creation, right? As a result of attempting to optimize Ruby Storm, and through the various and long-form arguments that lasted weeks, maybe even months within Discord, about Ruby Storm, namely whether to play Lines of Diamond and various other zeros, or to not do so. And now, over the years and how this deck and that deck have progressed, I mean, it's been clear for quite some time now, we were just talking about two different decks. And so eventually, there was a deck that was kind of in between Ruby Storm and this, called the Epic Ruby Storm, initially it was called. It didn't play Gamble. It only played one Echo. It still played Ruby Medallion. I think towards the end I was playing more Echoes, but it was still Ruby Storm, but with just some more LED Echo shenanigans. It wasn't until Diamond Lion I made a silly brew where I took the deck and I just leaned harder into the Echo thing. And I played Gambles. I think I played more Faithless Lootings. I played Diamond Lion because I thought an 8-diamond deck would be funny. And it performed even better than what I was playing. So, of course, I took out the Diamond Lion, but then I stuck with leaning further into the theory of just being an Echo deck as much as possible. And we are now in its third major change, which is where we have essentially dropped Galvanic Relay, dropped the playset of Opals, just playing one, and dropped the Grim Monoliths, which used to help to support both the Relay and the Mox Opals. The biggest reason why we are able to do this is because Vexing Bauble exists, so we can effectively have more defense grids, so we are more reliable with our bigger and more aggressive action. Part of the reason we played Relay, and part of the reason any Storm decks were playing Relay and tend not to now, but we're playing because it was so hard to interact with that it was like playing an action and protection slot. And certainly with this deck, you kind of had to, because 4 grids is just not enough. You're just not going to see it enough. But now we have defense grids. Also, we weren't playing Saga, or at least I wasn't. I tested it a lot, but I think it was just barely not good enough. But now the Vexing exists. We have more protection, and we have Saga that gets Vexing, so that's even more protection. It's also another angle of attack, right? So we can, there's compounding reasons why we can be more all in, which also means we're more successful when we start comboing off as well. We're not going to spin the wheel multiple times only to Galvanic Relay in a position where Relay is not good enough. We are better and more consistent at killing the opponent now, as opposed to next turn, which is exactly what this deck is all about. So, if you haven't seen it or don't quite know how it functions, you've got the classic combo of Lines of Diamond and Echo of Eons, of course. Echo is a 6-mana Time Twister, where you both get to draw 7. And your hand and graveyard shuffles, but it has this flashback cost of 3 mana, so naturally it goes really well with Lines of Diamond, where you discard your hand, and it turns it into an actual Time Twister. It's not uncommon for us to cast the front of this, though, to maintain velocity and ensure that we have action as we keep comboing off. The deck is all about redundancy of these two things, mostly. There's a lot more going on, but mostly that's the case, right? You have Lion's Eye Diamond, which can be tutored with Urza Saga or Gamble, right? You have a chance to miss if you're going for LED with Gamble. However, if you have Lion's Eye Diamond and you're trying to find Echo, it doesn't matter what you discard. And then Burning Wish can also get sideboard Echo of Eons, which creates more redundancy for Echoes. Since we have more protection, permanent base protection, we can more reliably resolve Jeska's Will, especially once we start drawing 7, and certainly when a defense grid is in play. Your opponent can't cast spells. You give them 7 cards. Jeska's Will makes 7 mana. That's a +4 ritual. Doesn't really exist in the game otherwise. And it is modal. It can be action. Modality is a huge part of this deck. When you aren't running Brainstorm, Ponder, Fetch Lands, and the efficiency, consistency, and selection that gives you, you have to find other ways to make your deck mathematically consistent, especially when you're reliant upon drawing a random 7 over and over again. Now, there's various ways to make that not the case. If you front side an Echo, you're not just drawing a random 7. You're drawing a random 7, and you have a Time Twister available. So you can draw all mana, and it's actually good. I see frequently people have the mana and resources, say 10 mana, to front side their Echo, and they just don't. They flash it back, thinking that +7 mana is better. I'll put it this way. 4 mana and a guaranteed Time Twister is a lot better than 7 mana and 7 truly random cards. This deck is about preventing yourself from having to gamble. When I say gamble, I mean take a risk that could fizzle. It's mitigating and preventing yourself from having to take these actual gambles. There are many, many, many ways to do that, but a lot of them can be complicated and difficult, and it's very easy to tunnel vision on a line that does actually put you at risk of losing on the spot or losing a ton of mana or whatever it is. So back to the modality. I mean, this is a pretty clear example, right? There's 2 modes. One gets mana, one is action. It doesn't always get mana, obviously. There's spots where that doesn't happen, but obviously it increases the power level of your openers. If your opponents are mulliganing, sometimes that decreases the power level, which is kind of funny. But it's just way too synergistic with drawing 7 and giving your opponent 7 cards that you frequently and repetitively give yourself opportunities to leverage this card at its highest power level, which is an outrageous power level. It's that sort of large chunk of upfront red mana that allows you to leverage a card like Reforge the Soul. So this is an actual Wheel of Fortune that's just more costly, with a miracle cost that actually is less than Wheel of Fortune. Part of the synergy here is, of course, having Echo in your deck. If you draw 7, you have an Echo in your hand. You've now drawn 8. One of them guaranteed to be a Time Twister, which, by the way, is banned. Bergie is modal, right? It's a mana engine and a card engine. Odds are if you play either of these sides and draw 7, you're winning the game. It's almost 100% if you horn plus draw 7, because then you get to look at the 7 that you drew and upwards of 14 more. So you can look at 21 cards. Realistically, you're probably going to keep 1 or 2 that were in your hand and flip over 10 more, which is still pretty good. It's another common line that I see where people Bergie plus draw 7 when they have a horn available. Admittedly, this version is a bit worse at leveraging the wheel activations than previous iterations, because Spirit Guide is worse with exile effects than Opal. We don't have Grim Monoliths. Sometimes Bergie plus like a front side Echo is going to be more powerful than Horn plus backside Echo. Depends on the circumstance. Burning Wish, of course, wildly modal. We have a rather robust sideboard for Burning Wish. And if we didn't have Jeska's Will, I wouldn't necessarily call it... When I'm thinking of a modal card in a Storm deck, I'm primarily thinking the card can potentially produce mana or action. So if I didn't have Jeska's Will, I wouldn't feel comfortable saying it's modal in the sense that I'm trying to describe here, despite the fact that it is modal, right? Because it can get action, it can get removal, but most of that stuff has very specific use cases. The fact that it can be mana is great, given that you have Jeska's Will in your deck. You draw 7, you have Grid in play, Burning Wish costs 2, Will costs 3, that's a total of 5, you get 7, so your Burning Wish not only is a ritual, but it's a +2 ritual. You do have to have 5 mana up front, but it's very good. So part of the strength of this deck is just how many angles your opponent has to worry about, right? You can have very threatening Saga hands. You can have well-protected hands that are more slow-going. You can have well-protected, Grid into LED Echo, just absolutely nut hands. You can have outrageously powerful but unprotected openers. But I have found that with volatile combo decks that are capable of frequently going off and killing the opponent on the spot very quickly, be it often turn 1 as well as turn 2, especially together, the more capable you are of doing that sort of thing, the more your opponent has to respect it. So you enjoy your opponent mulliganing more. You enjoy them keeping subpar hands because they have key cards that they have to keep in order to not die, right? No landers with forces, multi 5 for a force and have no threats, things like this. And since we can leverage Urza Saga so much, oftentimes they're going to mulligan hard for the interaction and then just die to the constructs. They also can't afford to oftentimes take out all the removal because of it. On top of that, we have very solid, numerous, and easily accessible protection. In addition to that, this is important and huge, and we used to lean on it more since we weren't playing Saga. The other angle is that even in the event that we wind up in very low resources, so say we go all in and we get stuffed, or we present a lot of protection and action, and it just so happens that our opponent also has a wildly interactive hand. However, it may occur that you wind up with very little resources. Typically, a deck that goes as fast as this can't recuperate and rebuild. And of course, sometimes that is the case. But most of these engines take very little resources to go off. You have simply Lion's Eye Diamond and Echo. If you draw Echo and have a red source, now Lion's Eye Diamond is a live draw. Gamble's a live draw. Looting can be a great draw. As soon as you have Lion's Eye Diamond, same is true. You draw Echo, you're good. You draw Gamble, you're good. You have Reforge the Souls, Miracle cost. Right? There's 3 of these in the deck. All you need is 2 mana. You get a fresh hand. You draw Urza Saga. In no time you can be excuse me. In no time you can be making constructs or get your Lion's Eye Diamond. There's really easy ways to go from very little resources to oops, I killed you. The sideboard, we've got bounce spells, Haywire Might and Pyrite Spellbomb as primary interaction that typically comes into the main board, post board. Void Snare is a sorcery. Yes, you can get it with Burning Wish. It is mostly incidental that you have access to this with Burning Wish. If you're playing against Prison or anything that you're going to want to be bouncing stuff, especially non-blue, I typically don't bring in bounce spells against blue. Void Snare comes in. It is nice that having this card allows for Burning Wish to become a ritual. Say Jeska's Will isn't good. You don't have enough mana up front to cast it. Your opponent doesn't have cards in hand. Whatever it is. As long as you have Bergie in play and a Chrome Mox that can be re-accessible or an active Opal, you cast Burning Wish. Costs 2, but you get a rebate, so really it costs 1. You cast Void Snare, which is free. You bounce your Opal, you replay the Opal, which gives you 2 more mana, which, since we were down 1 from that 1 cost, actually puts us up a mana. And you get to refix if you're using Opal, or, depending on what you're imprinting, maybe Chrome Mox. It's a nice way to ramp up Storm and or mana. Shattering Spree and Grape Shot do typically stay in the sideboard, but are also interactive. Echo is obvious. Mind's Desire. A lot of people give me shit for it, or they don't understand why it's there. If you play the deck enough, put it this way, if you play the deck enough and you aren't using it, you're missing lines in which you should have been using it. Or you're getting risky with your color selection with Lion's Eye Diamond. Primary use of this card is because of how important it is for us to be making blue from our Lion's Eye Diamond when we're echoing or reforging or whatever. You frequently wind up in spots where you're activating multiple Lion's Eye Diamond and you have to decide what colors you're making or keeping after having cast your spell. If you do not have Mind's Desire, you will frequently get in spots where you have to consider making black mana with your Lion's Eye Diamond. You have to choose all one color for this, right? So oftentimes, if you make black with your Lion's Eye Diamond, you're not going to have the blue that you need for Echo of Eons. Oftentimes, we are front-siding it. You just really want to be making blue, almost always. So, what that does is, still allows you to have a wildly powerful and lethal line before you get to Grape Shot Storm. If you're making blue almost always, you ramp up a ton of Storm. You don't find the black that you need to kill them with Tendrils, you can still just go for Desire. And a Desire for 12, 13, 14, whatever. It's gonna get there. Sometimes you gotta be a little bit careful with Vexing Bauble. You can't pop off with a Mind's Desire with no land drop, no mana floating, and a Vexing Bauble, because then your spells are gonna get countered. Tendrils, of course, the primary win condition. Pier, another card that you can go a whole tournament without casting. I've also played entire challenges where I cast the card 6 times. And the unique effect with this card is, well, I know it doesn't say it like Thassa's Oracle does, but you win the game. It's also grotesque and sweet. Some would argue delicious. Relay, obviously a very cheap, usually it's a, well, I guess I'll relay. But as long as you're not dying the next turn, even if they have interaction, or even a lot of the times permanent hate, you can usually still just beat it with a big enough relay. Gambit, this is the original deck that played this card in order to beat the One Ring, and that's its primary use. Sometimes it is feasible with a Bergie in play that a double Burning Wish line for Gambit plus Empty the Warrens or Gambit plus Relay is preferable, right? Each Burning Wish will only cost 1, thanks to Bergie. It's a total of 2. Gambit effectively costs 2, that's 4. Relay, effectively 2. It's a 6 mana line. I guess it's 7. Because the last red that you get from Bergie you can't really use. You had 6, you'd go down to 5, go down to 4, then you'd go down to Gambit, or down to 2. You wouldn't be able to cast the last spell. So, 7 mana line with Bergie in play. If you have enough Storm, and you know your opponent doesn't have interaction because they're letting spells resolve, you may very well want to Gambit plus Relay instead of giving your opponent a new 7 cards with Reforge. But mostly, it's just so that you can beat the One Ring. Because the One Ring, protection from everything. The way that protection stops you from taking damage is damage prevention. And this says during that turn, the extra turn that it gives you, damage cannot be prevented. Now, you still can't target your opponent, but you can make goblins. And then you kill them. And last but not least, there is a Reforge in the sideboard. There have been times where I've cut this card. I have always regretted it when I've done it, and pretty much vowed to stop doing it. It is often enough that you only have access to red. And if you look at your red action spells here, I mean, obviously it's common enough that you're not going to be able to kill them with Grape Shot. Shattering Spree. If you need to kill them now, Empty's not going to do it. Alchemist Gambit is likely going to be too risky just on its own. Jeska's Will is only going to get you 3 cards. Galvanic Relay is not going to kill them this turn. So, Reforge it is. There's also circumstances in which you Burning Wish for Reforge, cast it to keep the Echo that's in your hand around. Or like you could Echo, but you'd rather Reforge because you have enough mana. And you want to put Echo in your graveyard so that you draw 8 cards. One of which guaranteeing that it's a Time Twister, which, again, is banned, by the way. Reforge, similar to Mind's Desire. If you play this deck enough and you find yourself never grabbing it, you're probably playing it wrong. There is a reasonable likelihood that this is what I'll be playing at Eternal Weekend. So, without further ado, let's get to some high-level, hopefully, Eternal Weekend testing in the first round. Okay, welcome to round 1. I totally forgot. I actually started an Epic Gamble League last night. So the first 2 matches, I'm just going to go through the recording, and then we will continue the league. I really don't want to drop a 2-0, and I really don't want to play through the whole thing and then record. Alrighty, so it looks like we won the die roll. We have Chromox, Double Ray of Flame, Jeska's Will, Gamble. I believe I would keep this hand. It's a little bit thin, but it gets to play a defense grid on 1, and then turn 2, and likely pop off with a protected Echo. Let's see if that's what I do. I'm pretty sure that's what I do. Imprint Jeska's Will. You just can't quite make Jeska's Will work here. If you imprint Rite of Flame, then you have to use your pedal for the red, and then Gamble isn't going to be able to Echo because you won't have access to blue. Your goal is to get Hellbent, cast Gamble for Echo, and have enough mana, including, of course, the blue, to Echo. So I'm just going to burn one of the Rite of Flame, I think, and cast the grid, probably play the pedal out. Yeah. And now, what's nice is this Rite of Flame is now as powerful as a Dark Ritual. They're on a blue deck. We draw land. Last thing we want to do is draw some sort of expensive action there, because you just want it to be free so that we can go for the plan that we laid out. So we go Rite of Flame. We're going to Gamble for Echo. And we're going to spin the wheel. Oops. We imprinted a Shatter Skull Smashing. And now we can't do anything all that meaningful right now, so we're just going to pass. But we are currently way ahead. We have a grid that they're stuck behind, and in game 1 they're not going to remove maybe a Petty Theft, but they didn't have land Petty Theft, so that's great for us. We even have a Saga coming next turn, if that's a route that we want to try and go. And it looks like we're playing against Grixis, and we hit a Reforge off the top. Does it make sense to play this? I think so, because I think our best play without this is land, Spirit Guide, and Hardcast Reforge. It would be a Reforge with no mana floating and no land drop, whereas this, we can use our Spirit Guide, keep our thing untapped, Miracle the Reforge, and now we have 2 mana, and still have a land drop. And this is looking pretty lethal. We can play Burgi here. I think I do. And then we can play these out. It looks like we probably don't have enough for lethal, but we still have a super powerful line. It looks like I'm gonna cycle the Vexing, because if we hit some sort of mana, then, oh yeah, so we hit Rite of Flame, and now we have, I believe, enough to Mind's Desire. So here is, I didn't talk about this use case for Mind's Desire, I talked about when you have more Storm, but there are circumstances in which you don't have quite lethal Storm for Tendrils. You do have access to black, but you don't have the Storm, and you still want to kill them now. Now, it is up against Frontside Echo, and we have a Burgi in play. So I actually, if you looked at the clock, I think I did spend a good 15 seconds trying to think of what would be better, and I think Desire is better. Because Desire is better with Burgi in play too. You know, literally any spell is going to net you mana, no matter how big. You could hit Spirit Guides, and there's still at least Rituals. So all it's going to take, yeah, we already hit an Echo. So already we've matched what the previous line was. The problem is if you frontside the Echo, if you don't hit any blue mana, well, I mean, You can still hit red action. You're almost surely going to win with that too, but I still think Desire is better. All right, now we Echo, and we can just... Oh, sorry. So I just gambled for a Burning Wish, right? And a lot of times you don't want to do that, but we had 2 gambles, and we have an Echo still. Like, you do want to do it when you already have wildly powerful options that there's literally no chance of your gamble foiling, right? If we hit one of our other action options, which we did, the gamble, it just doesn't matter. We have the Echo in the graveyard already. So you might as well just save some time. Go for Burning Wish. You're probably not going to miss. Odds are pretty high. If you do, whatever. Especially since the spell was literally free, thanks to the Bergie. But odds are you're going to save yourself some thinking, some stress, and some time. Just kill him. Kill him dead. Alright, let's see if I can choose the next round without showing you what happens. I don't think it's going to happen. Spoiler. If you don't want to see it, just close your eyes for a second. Actually, I can do it. I'll just go silent. And it'll skip for you. Alright, here we are. Game 2. Obviously, we're on the draw. Oops. Alright, sorry, restarted it. Okay, we have mana with a Chrome Mox. It seems a bit thin. I can see why I mulliganed it. It is close. I mean, if you draw a soul land here, this hand is excellent. You want grids, but you do want to be able to cast them and not get stuffed so easily. So, we mulligan, and this hand is great. We have a Saga, we have multiple pieces of repeatable, permanent mana, we have multiple red sources, we have potential for very explosive plays. I'm happy about this hand. We're going to open with a Ponder. Okay, we draw Wish, which is not particularly good, but... And I opt for Jeska's Will here. Now, I feel like a lot of people would go Grid Pass. It's not a bad play, but here's the thing, and this is part of using Jeska's Will, right? Jeska's Will is only a ritual if your opponent has cards in hand. You play Defense Grid, especially against the blue deck, especially post-board. They know they need to be finding Force of Wills, especially when they go first, and they Ponder, and they keep the Ponder. Grid is going to eat a Force of Will, right? Then your Jeska's Will is going to lose its ability to be threatening in the first place. So then you're not going to do anything unless you draw really well. However, in this circumstance, you play Will before, now it's threatening. They need to counter it, and in the event that they do, you now have a grid that costs 2, rather than a Jeska's Will that costs 3 and doesn't really do much. So, I say all the time that sometimes Jeska's Will is just an expensive grid, with the upside of just winning the game if it resolves. We also have the upside of a Spirit Guide here, so a Daze just not going to do much, and they might even Daze it. They didn't even, so now we get to grid, and assuming they have nothing, because there's just no way you let Will go, so hope he's learning a valuable lesson today. And now we get to Reforge Protected. And we draw into some gas. Now, you don't have enough to make use of Bergie here, because you'd have to imprint something, say Burning Wish, and then you wouldn't have a Burning Wish to use, which means we're just going to imprint it. And then we'll play out our Mana Rocks. They're at 19, so we don't quite have enough to kill them, but we can Echo. I certainly considered empty, or no, I didn't. You wouldn't consider empty here. They have sweepers. It would take multiple turns to kill them. You just want to spin it again. Once you have grid in play, your deck is super powerful at wheeling, because Jeska's Will just becomes so incredibly good. And here, we have LED Echo and a red source. Now, I'm going to gamble for another LED. It is going to net me 2 mana if it hits, and it's a really high chance. We get there. And now all of a sudden we've gone from playing against the blue deck to, oh look, we have protection, to drawing 7 with no mana floating, to drawing 7 with 1 mana floating, to drawing 7 with 3 mana floating, and now the grid's in play. Look at Jeska's Will, huh? So you notice I don't use the blue here because I want to keep double blue for this frontside Echo. not gambling for an LED and flashing back Echo. I think what I do, though, there's a play here. And again, this is where Mind's Desire comes in and why it comes in. We don't have double black, right? We floated blue because that's the color that our deck uses outside of red. And so all it takes is one petal. And now we have double blue. Now, could gamble for an LED here to get more mana. But what I do is play out the petal. You don't need to play petal and Rite of Flame, but I gamble for Burning Wish because provided it doesn't hit Burning Wish, even if it hits the Rite of Flame, you'd have enough to Burning Wish into Desire, which would be for 14, 15, 16, 17. And if it misses, it just doesn't matter. Then you cast your Rite of Flame and you frontside the Echo, and you lost 1 mana out of it, right? So petals out. We gamble. We go for Burning Wish. It hits Rite of Flame, which doesn't matter. We cast Burning Wish, and we Desire for 17. We have now run into the first 2 games, both desired, which is awesome. I kind of forgot that that was the case. And looks like we hit some stuff. I mean, you're bound to hit some stuff when you get 17 free cards. So we're going to cast some spells. I don't think I'm going to try to... Yeah. Our Storm is already so high. You just cast a couple spells and Grape Shot them. Grid's in play. There's nothing that they can do. Alright, cool. Well, we are 1-0. We'll see you in the next round. Hey everyone, thanks for making it this far. Just wanted to thank everybody, and if you're looking for more, show you where you can find that. If you go to the description below, you can find all of my links. If you go further down in the comments, you can also find my links, which will bring you to my Patreon, various tiers for Discord access, early access, sideboard guides, donation decks, coaching sessions. You can also check out the podcast within those links, as well as my Twitch, where I do most of my content. You can see the commands that you can use in the chat. Let's say you do dono. You're wondering how to get a link, how to do it. Tells you right here. And the members Discord is within the Storm, MTG Storm community. And of course, it's always going to help if you hit the like and subscribe. So thanks again. Keep storming, y'all. All right, here we are in round 2 against WataugaCJ. We are on the draw. This hand, probably just barely good enough to keep, I would say. Yep. I guess past me agrees with current me. It's unfinished, but it has some explosive mana. It has multiple permanent mana sources. It can play a defense grid turn 1. It can play it around days. We are, however, against Eldrazi, and it isn't going to take much of a draw to wind up with some speed in this hand. So I gamble. Oh, right. So we do have a line here, right? It's rare that double gamble lines, when you have no other action, actually come together. But there's a reasonable chance for this to get there. You go for LED, right? And as long as it doesn't hit itself or gamble, which was a 5 out of 7 chance, which is pretty good odds, then we have enough. We had multiple initial red sources outside of the mountain, right? We had Chrome Mox and Spirit Guide. So as long as that didn't miss, which it didn't, then we'd be able to go for 2 more mana and gamble for Echo. And I think it's pretty important here to try to pop off since we're playing against Eldrazi. They didn't play Vexing Bauble. They're probably going to hit us with Thought-Knot Seer next turn, which we really don't want. And now, looks like we're not popping off this turn, but we can play out some mana, give them a random 7, and we get a draw for this Vexing Bauble. We don't care too much if they Thought-Knot Seer us, like we don't want to see it, but not the end of the world. They do have it. You go ahead and take the gamble. We get an extra draw off of this Bauble. Burning Wish, and then a Reforge, which I will gladly fire off. 2 mana wheel, sign me up. And we draw into some gas here. We play out LED, cast the Rite of Flame, and here, I've said it before, and I don't get enough opportunities to showcase it, but there are circumstances in which you gamble for Ancient Tomb. And I believe this is this is it. You could gamble for Rite of Flame would also work, but I like Ancient Tomb because it's a permanent mana source. So if for some reason we fizzle, we're still adding resources to the board to give ourselves a better chance of going off the following turn. You could get City here, because you could certainly make an argument that the game is going to be won or lost this turn or the next. But you could also make the argument, well, then life total is not going to matter either, so just pick one. But what this allows us to do is play Birgi into Echo, which is infinitely better than not doing that. The other option was gambling for another LED, but Birgi plus Echo is almost always going to be way more mana than just 3 mana post Echo. And we hit multiple Rite of Flames, and we have Jeska as well. I opt to cast Looting because it's pretty free. You could already see cards that I didn't want. Cast the other Rite of Flame. And do I go for action or mana? It looks like I think mana. Action would be not terrible there, but maybe a little risky. Not moving forward. Okay. So now we have about 1 billion mana. So I actually opt to flash back the Looting because it only costs you 2. We already have a card in hand that we don't want. If it hits any mana, then it replaces itself, because then you'll get your 2 mana back. And it did that and some. And this is why I thought the other Jeska as well was for action, because I believe I do action on this one. You might as well. We already have so much mana. Birgi is just insane. And though it's unfortunate we only hit this, it did take 3 dead draws out of the deck. There's not really a reason to play Defense Grid, but I felt like doing it. For peace of mind, okay? You feel warm and fuzzy. Alright, we're going to draw 7. And this is an easy win from here. We can Grape Shot them, we can Tendrils, we can do whatever. And we go for the Grape Shot. So they are dead. Love to see that. Oh, I apologize. I didn't go over sideboarding. There's not much when we played against Grixis. You just take out Looting and you play Pyrite Spellbomb so that you can hit like Bowmasters or Voidwalkers that they bring in. But that's it. In this matchup, you're going to take out some amount of grids and Vexing Bauble, and bring in your bounce spells and removal. So this is a keep. There's definitely ways it can go wrong. Vexing Bauble would be annoying. And that's, you know, basically the same thing. Oh, I remember what happens. This is tragic. So we draw a 3rd Rite of Flame, right? So we get to cast all 3. Now we have 7 mana. So we get to gamble for Burning Wish. If it misses, then we have another chance to gamble for Burning Wish and we can relay at least. But really, you're going to want to go for goblins. 5, 6, 7. It's going to be 14 goblins. They're almost never going to beat that. But I play the LED, and then I literally misclick. Like I went to select Burning Wish, and my mouse like stuttered, and I selected Gamble, which means, I mean, I can get a Burning Wish, but now I have 1 less mana, and I'm forced to relay. So just tragic. I don't think it was a terrible relay. I'm pretty sure they play a Null Rod, and it had no non-artifact red sources. So we lose. Alright, we go to game 3. It's worth noting that we almost surely won that game. It was simply a misclick. It's not going to happen in paper. Not as a like, oh, my ego can't take losing, but just, you know, when you're trying to evaluate power level of a deck, whether or not you need to change things, how well you're doing with the deck, etc. If you just straight up misclick, like if I were taking stats, recording all my matches, I would literally just call it, well, maybe not, because you don't know what they have. I guess you couldn't. It would have to be a misclick that was like they were dead 100%. But I would just make note of it, right? So this hand, obviously quite powerful. We're on the play, so we can just get after it. So it's important to try to be able to figure out what the most powerful lines are, right? Anything that Burning Wish can do, we have what? A total of 1, 2, 3, 6 mana. So the best thing a Burning Wish could do is you could make goblins if you want. It's only 10 goblins though. Otherwise, it's echoing, right? So anytime that you can echo via casting Burning Wish, and you have a gamble, you should just gamble. It's more efficient, costs less mana, and you're not exiling one of your Burning Wishes. So, I mean, we are with Chrome Mox, so I guess that's the same. But not every circumstance would have that be the case. All right, imprint the Burning Wish, play out the LED, and we're just going to gamble for Echo, and we're going to spin it and hope they don't have Trap. All right, they do not have Trap, and it looks like we have a Reforge and crack some LEDs, which is quite powerful. We play those out. We have exactly enough to Reforge, but now we can make 6. And we hit nothing. Now, this hand is better than nothing, okay? This is why it is important to understand what you're putting into play, right? Because sometimes it is possible, of course, that you fizzle. But if you can provide enough advantage on board, like this isn't bad. In this matchup, this is not a bad position. We have an active Saga. We got a basic along with a Chrome Mox. We have multiple permanent red sources that can't be wastelanded. We have a Void Snare and a blue source. So no Rod would be bad, of course. But a Chalice we can bounce with Petal if and when we need to. They do wasteland us, but now they have no mana. Bergie's fine draw. Rite of Flame makes 3. So we can go... I decided to go Horn Pass. There's risk involved, but we don't have other action. And if we get to untap here without a lot more disruptive cards coming from them, we should be able to pop off and win. Alright, so they don't do anything else. They play a land and pass. We Miracle Reforge. There's a lot of Miracled Reforges in this league, huh? Already. Yes, please. And we can even discard the other cards from her hand, which is insane. Those are in exile for the duration of this turn. You can't do it on the Reforge, right? So this came up, I saw a Epic Gamble enthusiast we know on Discord, who, in paper, wasn't thinking and used the Lion's Eye Diamond to cast the Reforge off a Miracle. This is not possible. As you could see there through Moto, the Miracle trigger occurs, but the card is in your hand. I feel like we frequently think that it's not in our hand, simply because when you play this card, you train yourself to not actually touch the card to your hand, because once you do, technically there's no way for your opponent to be 100% sure that Reforge is Reforge, right? You could have had it in your hand, you could do a little switcheroo, they don't know, you know, whatever. So you have to keep it separate, which makes it feel as though it's not in your hand. It is in your hand. It is in your hand until you cast it. The Miracle trigger does go on the stack, but at this point the Reforge is still in your hand, so if you use your Lion's Eye Diamond, it will discard the Reforge, and then you can't cast it. Same goes for, I can't activate my Horn and discard the Reforge. So I just kind of went down the line. There are many heuristics when you're using a Horn, but a lot of the times it's just so far ahead that you know, try to find lethal. If you don't, just echo again. You know, that's kind of what we're doing here. Going for more action with the Jeska's Will or mana, and probably action with the other one. Yep. Another LED. Paying costs for the Reforge, sure. Grid's in place, we don't have to worry about trap or anything. And there's the Burning Wish, so we just play a couple black sources and go get tendrils. Yeah, I clicked through it too much, but that is what I do here. And they're dead. We are 2-0. And that is the end of the recorded parts. Yeah, see, we're 2-0, so I will see you live, or not live, but you know what I mean. We're actually going to play round 3. All right, here we go. Round 3. Opponent is mulliganing. We could keep this. Imprint, Spirit Guide, play, smashing. We have protection. Twofold. We draw something else to imprint. We're at least only 2 mana away from Reforge. Echo's a good draw, Gamble's a good draw. Burning Wish isn't bad. I'm gonna keep it. It could go wrong. For sure. Probably the most common way that it would go wrong is a way that most hands are gonna go wrong on the draw. It's like Vexing Bauble or Chalice on 0. But it looks like it's a blue deck. So this hand is actually pretty decent. Would love to find a land or something to imprint. And land, excellent. We'll play that one. It's not a super easy choice here. Imprinting Smashing is best for getting grid in. We can beat Daze, but I do have 2 grids. And imprinting Spirit Guide will let me have another permanent mana source for this Saga. I think I'm just going to do that. Plus, if it resolves, we know they don't have anything. And if they don't have a Daze, they have to force it. That's also a good outcome. And if they do Daze, which they did, it slows down probably the more scary thing, which is Entomb Reanimate. So sometimes even 1 or 2 of those reasons are good enough to jam in the way in which we did. But certainly when there's that many different reasons. Now, if I had like a Gamble or an Echo, well, then you hold up Spirit Guide. Now, depending on what we draw, we can either start making constructs, or we can slam grid and pop off. That is definitely a reason to slam grid and pop off. I think it's a good enough one, too. Constructs are great and all, but all they have to do is find a wasteland. And then we only have 1 construct, which is probably not going to be good enough to win. And our line doesn't get more powerful anyways. We actually lose mana. And then just, you get a draw step, I suppose. Okay. So it is worst case scenario. But they're at least now less likely to have Wasteland. Or Entomb Reanimate. Yep, I got a Brainstorm. That's good for us. Really hoping to dodge Wasteland here. If we do, we can get Vexing Bauble, and then we can gamble for Echo. No Wasteland. 3 cards in hand. Nice if I drew Vexing Bauble so I can get LED instead. That's good too. Just mana that we can get while still having a Vexing Bauble. They're fetching. I mean, definitely not going to have Needle, but... Oh. Bottoming, Force... Wasteland. Yeah, too late for that. Love to see it. Now, we could also be less cowardly and assume they don't have another force. But it's not so much about this Echo resolving as it is having success for the cards that we Echo into. And so having this protection is going to make it a lot easier to win right now. Not always the case. Sometimes Vexing, you know, we got to crack it. But enough of the time, we can put a grid into play thanks to Vexing Bauble, then we can crack it. Or we can just kill them anyways. So we can make a ton of red and have 1 blue mana without cracking Bauble. If I had 2 blue, and I could Desire, it would be great. I think I want to crack Bauble, but I want to cast Jeska's Will first. I'm going to go Tomb, get the mana, mostly because I have 2 really powerful lines, especially if they feel pressured. Like if they force that, knowing it's getting countered by Vexing, but just wanting to reduce the amount of mana we get, that would be sweet. Yeah, I'm going to crack Bauble, because we can put Lethal on the stack, and have a backup Echo. I guess that's not guaranteed. Let's get Opal into play so I can frontside Echo, at the very least. We'll gamble for Echo. Actually, you know what? That's wrong. I should have just cast Burning Wish, because if they let it resolve, then we can Desire. This is risk that we didn't have to take. But I'm going to get Echo, because it gives me... You get, like, a Burning Wish, right? Then you're going 50-50. You get Echo, because if it hits the Echo, you're fine. So it is 75% to have a positive result. Actually, it's 100% to have a double action result, right? Because even if it hit Burning Wish, that means Echo would be in your hand, and you could frontside it. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so Burning Wish is enough for Desire here, so I will just... Oh, and it resolves. Okay, well, we have now desired, legitimately so, 3 times. within 3 matches, which is actually a record for me at this point, but Desire proving to be absolute gas here. Rite of Flame, Reforge, Grid, Gamble, they're so dead. Bergie, so dead. More Gambles. Okay, so I'm actually going to go Rite of Flame first. I don't get stuffed by a single daze. I guess we have so many wheels here that I'll just play Bergie. I'll go Grid first. Right, like, Horn plus wheels will win, but Bergie plus 4 wheels, also gonna win. Yeah, let's draw 7 first, and then we can start gambling for Burning Wishes if we don't find them. I guess now they've had enough? Well, they don't want to show. Hiding information, okay. Fine. We know what you're up to. Felt like Hunter S. Thompson's attorney in that moment talking to Acerta. We know what you're up to, man. Meanwhile, Hunter S. Thompson is in the background looking at the black and white TV, freaking out on acid. There's a giant snake in the sky. I think maybe he says, like, it's killing everyone or something like that. No. Then Benicio del Toro says, well, then kill it. And he goes, not yet. I want to study its habits first. And it's just some, like, old black and white movie. Okay, we are moving on. Playing against likely Reanimator, but I guess it could be Tempo. Either way. Just want Spell Bomb. Willing to put a Faithless Looting in my sideboard. And we're done. Okay. Well, not exactly the kind of hand you want against them. I also don't hate it. Like, Protection wouldn't be a bad draw. Action would not be a bad draw. Any more explosive mana would not be a bad draw. It is kind of middle of the road. But it's going to laugh at Daze, I'll tell you that. Thoughtseize will be annoying, yep. There's not much you can do about that, though, right? You can't mulligan yourself away from Thoughtseize. It's going to get you. The hot Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize, more like Hot Seize, am I right? Seize the hotness. And there it is. I mean, playing a turn 1 horn around Daze, I'm doing it. Don't tase me, bro. Especially when they have open with Thoughtseize, they're a lot less likely to have a Force of Will. Because you're more willing to keep a hand on the back of Thoughtseize. They also know that we have the Spirit Guide, so Daze is not going to get there, although I would have gladly paid for it, obviously. I am going to pass. There is risk, of course. They have Petty Theft. That is very unfortunate for us. Null Rod, obviously, is also an issue. But most likely going to be like a cantrip, Wasteland, maybe play a threat. There's the cantrip. Who's spinning their wheels now? You can draw 3 cards at a time? Why draw 3? I don't know if they realize there's cards out there that let them draw 7. You don't even have to put any back. You just got to be generous enough to give your opponent 7 as well. What can I say? I'm a fair guy. Okay, so they locked it up. We've found a route to echoing with this horn in play. It certainly plays around soft permission. And we only have to use the LED. I think I'm in for it. I could get a bit greedy and try to go for more. But, also plays around graveyard interaction. Let's get after it. And if they have Force, I think we're still in a favored position. They do. Now they have even fewer cards. I still have Horn. If they also find Petty Theft, then, you know, so be it. But it looks like we'll probably be able to enjoy 2 cards a turn here. Yep, get a cantrip. That means no Null Rod. That means no Petty Theft. Could be a Wasteland, but on average, we're going to outpace that with a Horn. Undercity Sewers. And draw. Saga is actually a pretty good draw. Yeah, I'm going to play Saga. I think that's one of the only cards that I'd be willing to just put it into play. If it survives even 1 turn, we can get Metalcraft. Plus, now they have to deal with constructs. Insulates and saves my Ancient Tomb. I think it would be a different story if I already had Metalcraft. But there's just too many cards that you can flip that you can't actually cast. 2 Rite of Flames in the graveyard. It's not nothing. Alright, they got another land. 3 cards in hand. I would imagine they have a consign. Maybe they use it now. I'm gonna hold this Burning Wish too. They can get Echo and then activate. And I don't want to get stuck with the decision to have to play something instead of making constructs. Alright. They make an Atraxa. That is bad, obviously. At least they had to tap 2 for it. Alright, let's hope they don't hit Wasteland. Atraxa's in. They did not hit Wasteland. Luster is really annoying. Alright, let me go through their choices here. Okay. The only thing that's not here that they kept is the Flooded Strand, but they played it. It's actually good for us that they kept Force of Will instead of Luster. And it looks like they're petty thefting the Horn, which is annoying, but I think that's okay. We're likely going to get Vexing Bauble, and hopefully we can get there. We'll have Metalcraft, we can play Burgie, we draw like Echo or Gamble. This is where having a Burning Wish in this, or a Gamble on the sideboard would be pretty decent. Although still not good enough. We know they have Force and Ponder. Could make a token. No, I don't think that helps. So we get Vexing. And I think I play it's either Burgie or Horn. I don't think I have enough resources to leverage Horn anymore. I gotta hope they don't have a 5th land and they can't use the Force of Will because of Vexing. Could use this to Burning Wish right now. I think I have to. And then maybe get Looting. Let's go ahead and do that. And then next turn Looting is going to be pretty good. And we'll pass. Unfortunate, but we have we've got some game here. See how it plays out. Getting in, of course. They have nothing else to reanimate. They're going to Ponder, so they have Force and 3, soon to be 4 unknowns. Ponder did shuffle. And they're passing over. I like that. So I guess the problem here is that we do have to hit exactly Echo. I guess I could loot first, but I don't really see a situation in which that works. I need my blue. I'll play Chrome Mox. Get my red. Cast Looting. Hope to hit Echo. We did not. So now we have to cast Looting, and then with it on the stack, I'm going to make blue, and crack Bauble, and then if we can draw into Echo plus any 0, we gotta hit Echo here, and some sort of mana. I did not. That's okay. That's okay. Another option was like getting Jeska as well and casting it for action, but I don't think that would have gotten there. We'd have had more lines available if we had a Gamble in the sideboard. It's important to note that often enough it's very helpful. I still think it's correct to have the 4 in the main in this matchup, but there are times where it is a card that I'm okay with siding out, just because you don't lose too much. You don't lose as much when you put a card in your sideboard. When you board a card out, and the card is very good in your sideboard, that's value. I will keep this hand. The thing about Blue-Black Reanimator is they can go fast. In a way, right? It's not like they're killing you, they make a monster. But they also have slower tempo elements, mana denial, and this hand is just very well-rounded. So we're going to play this Saga. Pass it over. Maybe it's not necessary to play the Petal there. I don't think there's any world where they're going to Thoughtseize and take Petal. And if they do, I guess I'm not unhappy about it, but I also don't see any way that we get punished for it. Alright. Looks like they might be on some sort of Entomb Reanimate But the thing is, if they do Entomb Reanimate shenanigans, unless it's literally Entomb into exactly Reanimate, find Wasteland, which happens often enough. But if they have to Animate Dead, or if they have to Cantrip into Reanimate, or if this is just a Brainstorm or Surveilling or, you know, whatever, you can't just say, okay, what's the worst case scenario and then freak out about it. Because even one of the better things they can do is make an Atraxa, but most of the time, or a lot of the time at least, have to tap out, in which case we get Vexing Bauble. I'm going to play Ancient Tomb, and there's no guarantee the Vexing Bauble does it for us. I'm actually kind of hoping that we just draw some sort of protection, or that the tokens are threatening enough. Because Vexing works a lot better when you have the LED in play, right? Now, we could have foregone the tokens. You can play Mountain, gamble for your LED, get it into play before, you know, then next turn you can get Vexing and you already have your LED in play. But that line assumes that these construct tokens are not going to be useful, which could be true. But generally speaking, I don't like to assume those things unless I have a play that is very effective at shutting it down. Okay, so perfect. So see, they had to Brainstorm and then Entomb, so even if they reanimated there, they'd at least be tapped out, but they don't even have another black source. They're getting a full turn here. And it's looking like there's a reasonable chance that we're just going to get... I mean, I wish I had some sort of graveyard interaction, but I don't think it's worth playing in this deck. Alright, we didn't find protection. I'm really tempted to get LED. I think it's actually better here. We can either go like a double threatening line, or we can gamble for protection. Yeah, I'm going to go for LED. They might consign us here. Consign to memory. That would be rude for sure. It actually surprised me if they didn't have consign. They might not use it here. They might just have it. Let's get LED. So what's it going to be? Double action? Like, we already have an Echo. We can just imprint Burning Wish, cast Rite of Flame, and then gamble for another Echo and have double Echo. I think that's probably best. Plays around Consign. Plays into double Force or Force plus Graveyard interaction. I think they're less likely to have that. So gamble. Hydro for gamble, huh? That I didn't exactly see coming, and is a bummer. But we do have to go for it. We pay the 2. We already have double blue. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to. Did we get in? Or do they have all of it? Days, that's a good sign. I'm okay with that. You can pick up your land and shuffle it. Okay, admittedly, this is not a great Echo. At least their graveyard is empty, and they only have 1 land in play. We can play a Horn around Days, so that's pretty good. We do have a Construct. We have 3 Sagas in hand. That's kind of funny. Let's see if we can get horny. Okay. So, I don't think they have Force. Possible they have Days. But I think it's actually pretty unlikely. That looks pretty good. Storm is 8, so this is lethal. We're just looking for either multiple action, push through some sort of interaction, or protection. So this is 1, 2, 8 mana. 9, if you count the pedal. I'm going to get rid of Spirit Guide. I think good chance we can do better. We did. Play LED. I'm going to make red with this one. Rite of Flame. Rite of Flame. If I Reforge, I'll have 2, 5, Storm is 11, 12, 13, 14. If they force, that Storm is 15, they'll be at 18. Burning Wish is 16. Grape Shot, oh, and plus we're hitting them for a bunch. Grape Shot is lethal. That means I can Reforge and still have access to lethal. Obviously, they have to respect this. We have a Horn in play. They got a Force, they got to use it. If they only have 1 Force, then they actually have to let it go, because we otherwise have lethal showing. Pick up their last land and shuffle it in. I love when this happens. My opponent has 0 permanents on turn 3. while we're wheeling. Nice, nice frog deck. That Rite of Flame is pretty hot. Let's see if we can find a petal. Yeah, let's keep going. What the heck? Keep going. I'm gonna play this LED. Then I'm gonna make red and cast Rite of Flame. Play this LED. Play a Vexing. Play a grid, why not? Make some more red. Make some more red. We can attack them, so they are already dead, but I'd rather go for the full 20 shot. The money shot, baby. Get him with the grapes. You do love to see it. We are 3-0. See you in round 4. Alright, here we go. Round 4. We're on the play. Playing against Oxdizzle. Wow. Yeah, I'll keep this. It's, got a lot of protection. Got a lot of protection, but Vexing Bauble is here to land our grid. And then we can start drawing through the Vexing Baubles and going off. What is happening? Oh, we're freezing up. Nope, we're back. That was weird. Okay, main phase. We're gonna go Petal, Opal, Ancient Tomb, Vexing. Now, it would be great if this one resolved. Yes, now we can just play Grid. Could play Vexing and crack one. Still think Grid is better. I don't want it to get Thought Seized. Alright, we'll pass it over. Now, best draw would be LED, and we have a draw step and 2 Vexing Baubles to hit it. They are a blue deck. Good for us. They mulligan 5, also good for us. They're doing nothing. Classic. Probably cycling Troll. Or forgetting about Grid and trying to entomb on end step. That's a classic. So 2, 4, 5, 4, 3. I do have enough to echo now. Feel like... Yeah, we'll have a land drop as well. Let's do it. Let's do it. Rite of Flame. Rite of Flame was one of the better draws. We get Echo. Oh no, we discarded it. And we spin it. We have lands, we have Spirit Guides. This is mana that we can use to get rid of these Vexings. And then still have our grid. So yeah, I'm going to play the other Ancient Tomb. I'm going to start cracking these. We already have LED Echo again. We might draw some more mana. We did. Let's crack this one. Don't need that, but I don't mind imprinting this smashing so we don't draw it. Play LED. And Echo again. At the very least, getting way ahead on board. Oh boy. They are dead. Play out these Rite of Flames. LED. LED. Hold control. And get him with the tendies. You are dead. Swing. Sweet. Is that the official sound effect of tendrils going on the stack? With lethal? Swing. Nice underground sea. What a nerd. Alright. Spell bomb in, looting out. Let's go. Okay, this hand is fine. It's got Saga, it's got protection, it's got multiple permanent mana sources. Double Chrome Mox is a little bit weird, but I'm here for it. Okay, Underground Sea pass. Another Saga is not bad. Play out Chrome Mox. Now, the big question is, do I want to play out both Chrome Mox in? There was more pressure to do so before we drew the other Saga. Not that there's none, right? If they wasteland us, Vexing's gonna be awkward. What are the odds we actually cast Reforge from hand effectively? I mean, there's high odds that Vexing just gets, like, countered. They have a Consign. Although Consign's weird. Depending on the context of their hand, sometimes they'll just let it resolve and then save the Consign. Because Consign can hit Vexing, or it can interact despite Vexing. I think I'm imprinting here. Another thing this does is it plays towards drawing Reforge off the top. But I think it's just smoother given We have this Vexing and we drew another Saga. Like, they really need interaction for this. Then they need to entomb Reanimator Traxa. They're going to brainstorm. That's good news for us. And then also they would need us to... We need to deal with both these Sagas that'll eventually get Vexing and hope we don't find action. I mean, if they had Entomb Reanimate, totally possible. Alright, Vexing gets forced. It's not a bad result. They only have 3 cards. Soon to be 4. No Wasteland. Looks like a frog. Oh, come on. Sure. You got me. So now we're hoping to draw Ancient Tomb, Spirit Guide. Actually, any land would be good. Gamble is not it. I can't really afford to not play Saga, I don't think. Makes it so now any land is actually a really good draw. Or Spirit Guide. Thought sees us, sure. Maybe I should have waited around with that Saga. Come on, baby. Land. Nope. That's really bad. Really bad. Vexing could be bad for us. I think I'm actually just gonna Opal. Oh, Spirit Guide won't even do it next turn either. That is quite the bummer. Brainstorm. We really need to find, like, basic mountain. Then we'll have some outs, but we're like 3 draws away. Oh my god. If we had waited one... Well, no, if we had waited 1 turn, it would have just been... We would have just been in the same spot. So this one I think I wait on. LED, because if we play this, we're hoping to draw exactly Ancient Tomb or City. That's not good. And that's part of the reason why you feel pressured into doing it. Although constructs are not going to save us against Atraxa or Archon. Just gotta hope they don't have it. They probably have it. Of course they have it. Alright, I'm going to move on. We got null rotted. It happens. There's the land. Oh, we've been decent. Alright, I'm gonna run it back. I don't bring in bounce, because a lot of times they're just gonna counter your bounce spell. Or sure, you bounce their null rod, but now they're gonna counter your action. And if these decks can do one thing, at least often enough, it's stop you for a turn. And then if you bounce their thing and then they stop you, then they can just redeploy it. On top of that, you're trying to use a blue card against null rod, so you need exactly Volcanic. Huh. I do like Bergy. Do like all this explosive mana. Could go turn 1 Horn. Then I only have Petal and LED left. I think we actually mulligan. Looking for protection and stable mana. This is protection. No red source though. And only 1 land. I'm gonna mulligan. Okay, I mean this has all the things. Like, exactly, it just takes a couple turns. And we have to hope that they don't counter LED. But the more mana that you put into play before Lion's Eye Diamond, the less likely they are to counter it. Which is good for us. Get Vexing in. Of course they have a force. I mean, if they're just gonna have it all again, then what can you do? What can you do? Island Ponder, okay. We're hoping to hit some mana here, so that we don't have to play into days. Another Vexing would be good too. I would play that over the gamble and be happy about it. That is not good. It is in fact not good. I mean, I think I'm going though. I don't think it gets better if we pass. You could gamble for Echo and then pass. Excellent. I think that was a way to steal getting back into this game. Generally speaking, the further you are behind, the more likely it is you should be taking a higher risk. If they learned. They did not. Sweet. Alright. This is a good spot to be in, all of a sudden. If they null rod again... Are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me? So, I guess we crack Bauble. I mean, they have a Wasteland, too? This is pretty tilting. This is a random 7 we gave them. In Cracking Bauble, we're hoping to find lands. Or a Spirit Guide. There's a land. Okay. Well, if I knew it was basic mountain, I would have actually kept the Vexing. Spirit Guide? Nope. Oh, man. I mean, basic mountain was a good draw. Play Burning Wish. It resolves. Interesting. Get Shattering Spree. And I will pass. Just ridiculous, man. Yep, get wasted. Nothing else? Okay. That's a good draw. A very good draw. So Saga, Rite of Flame. They have Hydro here. They should probably use it. Or even a Force. They did not. Alright, we're gonna cast with Replicate. You could have like Consign plus Force. Could have Fluster. Could have Hydro plus Force. There's Consign. And there's Force. Okay, we gotta hope to dodge Wasteland again and draw a land or Spirit Guide or Rite of Flame. Brainstorm. No Wasteland. Fetch for a swamp. Get Thoughtseize. That's whatever. Alright. Land. Land. We deserve it. We deserve it. Yes! Heck yes. Alright, Chrome Mox is going into play. No, not Tony Murata. I'm talking about the Chrome Mox. Alrighty. We got some robots coming. They pitched Atraxa. Now, obviously Archon is still a problem. They only have 4 cards. Frog, I think we're actually ahead of because of how few resources they're on. Yeah. I would say so. Go ahead. Okay. Rite of Flame, I guess. Not the worst. Is there any reason to get Vexing? I think I want to be able to play out zeros if I draw them. I'll never be able to crack it because of Null Rod. Yeah, I'll just get another 0. And this construct is just big enough where they have to eat it. We really want to find another artifact. Otherwise, this frog actually stuffs us. Burning Wish is still a great draw. Bergie's not a bad draw. Just putting another body in play could be the difference. They're going to attack. Maybe they have another frog. There's a lot they could have. 4, 5, 6. Oh, I guess they wouldn't have had enough cards. They kind of have to attack with it. 1 Brazen Borrower. Okay. Anything good? That's a Bergie. It is a Bergie. I think that means I can only really put them to 1 when all is said and done. Having Bergie in play is nice. Days. 2 days. Really? They do. And the shittiest part about this is not only is it free, it's actually better than free, because it doesn't even cost them a card. They get to pick up their land and make Frog bigger. If you're... Oh. They're not. Huh. Like, they could have made a 5/6 and just... They just don't do anything. Now they have to find something, or they have to chump. They can't reanimate. They're gonna have to chump. I guess they could have found, like, Fatal Push, but they would have attacked if they did. Gamble. Gamble doesn't help too much. Yeah, they're chumping. Well, I like that. I think I actually hold Gamble. Like, getting Echo is fine and all, but it's not really going to be that effective anyways with a Null Rod on the table. I think I'd rather hold it, and then if we get more cards in hand, we can find Burning Wish and maybe eventually get across the finish line with, like, a Grape Shot, or even get Void Snare, or even just, I need to pump this up one more, getting an artifact, but I think they just, yeah, GG's. Wow. Wowee. That was, too close for comfort. I think ultimately they had a chance to just make their frog big enough to stop our construct and just go back and forth, us drawing, and on average, they're definitely ahead there because they have a Null Rod in play. But, you know. I will see you in the final round for the trophy. Alright, here we go. Final round, trophy match, playing against Tess Jesus. Aw. Alright, we'll mulligan. Wonder if they're actually playing tests. This hand is actually great. We can go City, Spirit Guide Bergie. We're gonna bottom Saga. Chromoxo Imprint LED. Barding Wish gets Echo. Spin it. Or we could make Goblins. Alright, bottom Saga. Let's get after it. I think I want to Echo. I'm going to assume they're playing tests. Her name is Test Jesus. They said they're a big fan of my content. So, good chance. Bruh. Okay. So, then this is a brew they've been working on for months. Cool. Cool. Okay, City, Spirit Guide. We getting Bergie-licious. I think I have to sneeze. Although since I said that, I probably won't. Oh, I did. I used the mute button though. Maybe I shouldn't have. Just give the people what they want. Just give them the organic content, alright? I'm human, we're all human. Give them the sneezes. If you're here for the raw, organic content, such as sneezing directly into the mic, let me know in the comments. Okay, Storm 4. It's 10 goblins, but plus a Bergie, so it's 13 power, which is definitely better than 10. You go against Karn. Doesn't really matter what mana we make here. Right. Time to empty those Warrens. 13 power on turn 1 on a mulligan to 6. With a leyline in play. Love it. What you gonna do about that? And we die. Swamp, Dark Rit, Helm. Activate. Dead. But I don't know. They said it's a brew they've been working on for months, so I can't imagine it's just, you know, run-of-the-mill Helm. But it could be. Not gonna rule it out. Let's get in there. Attacking for 13. They got like Dark Rit Oppo Agent. They can only trade with Bergie. They still take 10. They did not have that. They draw a card. And scoop it up. Ancient Tomb. Yeah, looks like they have it. It is just run-of-the-mill. Well, I'm sure the full list is not run-of-the-mill, but unfortunate. Okay. We're going to take out some of this stuff. I'm going to play Void Snare, Echoing Truth, Haywire Might, and Pyrite Spellbomb. Take out another Vexing. Yeah. I feel like Grid's a little more useful. Because it can stop, like, Surprise Bowmasters and Oppo Agent, and, also, obviously, Mind Break Trap. So, we did have the option of relaying instead, but it's only a relay for 5. Of course, with a Bergie in play, though, I do always say, in the event that, let's say relay is just 100% to win, then, provided you get another turn, when you're trying to decide between relay or goblins, if goblins is guaranteed to take 2 turns to win, then you want to be making a determination as to how likely you are to win off of the relay in obviously 1 turn. And I could accept that it's better there to relay. So close to a peer. So very close. Well, I'm gonna play these out. It's tempting to gamble for LED and just put it in play. But I really want this Ancient Tomb as well. I think I'm supposed to wait. Wait. 3, 4, 7. We hit anything that gives us 2 mana. I guess that's only LED. It could be Jeska as well. Then we can peer. Not without risk. Could have Bowmasters. Might show it to us right here. We could have held these so that we could... But I don't know. If I'm not turn 1ing empty, I don't think I want to do it. Are we just getting... Shieldred? They have 2 cards. Interesting. That's a good draw. I think I just bounce Shield. Well, shoot. Can't. It's not on the sideboard. Good gamble for Void Snare. Really don't want Valk to get hit, but technically, Petal can still Void Snare this. Maybe Echoing Truth is better so I can do it end step, but then Leyline's still going to be a pain. It'd be nice if we had a Horn. I'm going to play Volk. And I'm going to gamble for, I think it's Void Snare. Hit the Burning Wish, which is awkward. We could bounce Leyline and Echo right now. We'd have no land drop, no mana floating. It's going to cost us 14 life. We're going to have to win off of that Echo. Let's bounce the Shouldered right now and hope they don't have a Ancient Tomb. If they do, we're in big trouble. And then we still have to gamble for some sort of action. They have Vault. They have Chrome Mox plus Imprint or Dark Ritual. And they can replay it. 5, 8. Still one away from here if I draw Burning Wish. Necro. Interesting. Sure. How much we drawing? 6. They could discard 3. Unstoppable Slasher. It's a cool card. Okay. Any Reforge? No. No Reforge the Soul. You don't have much in the way of outs here. You gamble for Burning Wish. Let's say it hits Mountain. 2, 4, 5, 8 mana. I guess we have to do that. If it hits Ancient Tomb, I at least have 7 and I can Reforge. If it misses completely, we're screwed. Did not. Middle of the road. Oh no. I did the math wrong? 2, 3, 6. Yeah, I did. I can make 6 goblins. That's not going to work. Because they have Shouldered. So, I gotta pass. Not much we can do here. You could try for a YOLO Jeska as well. And hope it hits like LED, Burning Wish, but that's still not even that good. Alright, what's it gonna be? Shouldered or am I dead? Shouldered. Now they get to draw a bunch more. I mean, again, I think I'm in a spot where I don't really have outs. Like, LED would be nice and all, but can't peer. Okay. Shouldered into Voidwalker. How much are they going to draw? Probably a lot. Probably 13. Close. Playing around Bolt. Okay. Then go up to 24. Our only out is, what, 3, 6, 7. I need a spell that gets mana. And then I can play spell, Burning Wish, Desire. And then Desire has to hit, like, the nut. We hit mana, but it's not going to give me Storm. I can wheel, right? I'll take 14. Okay. I mean, it's a reasonable chance, actually. Burning Wish. Crack this for red. And also Desire. And hope that we hit one of my wheels plus something, but that's seems a bit too ambitious. Yeah, we're going to Reforge. 14, we go to 2. We have no land drop. Not look like this hand gets there. Unfortunately, I guess, no, I don't even gain life from Haywire Might. Now they're at 1,000,000. Gamble does not do it. We needed, like, basically a Burning Wish line that went into Mind's Desire. Or like a Jeska's Will into Horn. I can't gamble for that. GG. Well played, Test Jesus. Sweet deck.